Okay, guys, so we're just gonna get right into it. I was creating a grid, so we're able to have a foundation background for essentially when we make the animation, there's a consistent theme. And then I also did a polygon node with, as you guys could see, the background, right? And then I inverted it. So it's gonna look like an eye, essentially. So it's really cool because what I realized is the more I got into editing, the more I realized everything's just an illusion. Who would have thought 9 pins or so are able to make an eye, right? So it just shows an outline. We just copy a formation of an eye, and yeah, and that's what it does. It's very interesting. You wouldn't expect that, but here it is. And then I rotated the x-axis. It makes it seem like it actually opens, which is really cool, man. Because once again, the more you get into editing, the more you realize everything's just an illusion. So I'm gonna make this into an eye that looks left and right, rotates, moves, change. It looks really cool. So we're just gonna ease in, ease out the animation so the eye opens up smoothly. I feel like that's what makes like an editor different than a professional editor, because a lot of people just don't have smooth animations. I ended up copying the background because I want the same consistent color, which is the background color, and then made a eclipse. The eclipse is just the retina, essentially, for the eye. And sorry that I don't sound so well right now because my throat, like, absolutely, it doesn't even hurt. It just, I don't even know. I genuinely fucking getting sick or something. But as you can see, while it's opening, I make the opacity for the circle, the retina or whatever, 100%. The moment it opens all the way. So it makes it seem like it was covered the whole time. I forgot how to make it where it gets masked behind it, but I was like, whatever, we don't really need it. We could just play around and, edit it smart. So I made the opacity really light the moment it opens, and it goes up to 100%, which is really cool. Now we're just going to animate the eye. So we're going to make it look left. We're going to make it look onto the right side. And as we're doing this, it'll be an indicator for the animation. And you'll know more that I'm talking. The more I actually get in depth with this, the more you'll know what I'm talking about. So please, please, please make sure you're following step by step on this, because it's going to make a huge difference in your editing. I really think once you master mastery of illusions, you'll be set and dandy for editing. So make sure, please, you follow step by step. Right here, we're just playing with the keyframe because we want to separate them slightly so it's not moving so quick. I think that was the issue when I was running this animation. It was just moving so quick. So we separated the keyframes. Alrighty, my bad, guys. It might sound a little bit different, but right now I'm just adjusting the keyframes and then went to the splines. Splines just smooth out the animations, and I'm just like stretching them out essentially, because it will make the animation a little bit longer with its motion. If you guys want more in depth into this, I'll have a link in the description, but I also only have like 5 videos. So just look at my recent video on keyframes and 3D animations, and you'll see in depth like how to actually animate, how to go from a 1-star animator to a 5-star and actually look professional. So I really, really recommend doing so because it'll change the landscape of your editing. And now this is how the animation actually looks. It looks smooth, looks nice. And my PC was about to explode when I was trying to render it. So that might be the reason why it wasn't actually rendering properly. But yeah. The next step is we're actually going to have text where the moment the eye actually looks towards that direction. And I think there's a little bit of a trick to this, right? Remember what I told you guys earlier, that the eye is going to be an indicator? Well, this is how I'm going to essentially do that. So I put 2 texts, one at the bottom left, one on the top right, and then increase the opacity the moment the eye look towards that direction. And what that's going to do, once again, it makes it into an indicator. After that, I reduce the opacity of the eye, the outline, to 0. So you'll see everything fade away. And I ended up doing an eclipse. So hopefully you guys follow along. I have to slightly fast forwarded, but I made an eclipse and then adjusted the length to it. And what that's going to do is have little like ridges of dashed lines orbiting the eye or a little circle. And it's really cool because everything, I feel like, honestly, I might name this Master of Illusions, but once you realize these small adjustments through your edits, the more you realize you're able to amplify your edits, whether it's, sound effects to the level of animations to the illusions. That's what makes you different. I can't stress it enough. I know I said it twice already, but that's what makes me different than you. And then additionally, it's animating, as in smooth animations, motion blur, and keyframes. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. In fact, I think that's the number one thing people struggle with, is actually keyframes and animating. But once you do that, it's just illusions and elevating your edits and having a style to it. As you can see, I have like that black and gray style with the gray background. And I'm doing it for this, right? But if I'm going to brand myself, I'm going to have a certain consistent theme through text colors, through background colors, everything, where there's like an identity to me. So you'll know it's my edit. But as we're doing here, we made the rigid lines orbiting the eye, and then we ended up just writing a cursive text on the top. And as I'm doing that, I also do it at the bottom as well. So it makes it really smooth and I guess balanced, right? The actual canvas of the screen looks balanced. You just don't have a random text on the top left and not have anything at the bottom right. And while we're doing the black and grayish and whitish background, the little rectangle, I threw a PNG icon of the money sign and I made it flicker. How do we do that? We have the blend, which is aka opacity. We make it to 0 and we increase it to 100. And we keep doing that as we're moving forward in frames. So it makes it flick. And as it's flicking, there was a commentary talking about money and then the flickering sound occurring. So it was like a static, nice sound. So to keep your animations alive, you also have S of X to double down on amplifying the viewers. Our next step is dropping the opacity of the money for the last frame to 0, and then increasing the actual box, the box it was in, as the background. So we expanded it, keyframed it, and expanded it to the background. So now it sits and blends to the next scene. And once again, I feel like a lot of people don't know how to set up their animations as well, which is interesting, but it is what it is. Our next step is writing a cursive, letter, number, whatever you have as the context of your video. But we have the number 1 or the text 1 on the top left. And as we're doing that, we also want the number 2 or the text 2 at the bottom right. And we're going to duplicate it and actually have an outline. So it makes it seem like there's a silhouette outline around those texts. So it's a little cool trick that you could use from here on out, which I never thought it would be anything. But once I realized you're able to honestly use these subtle tricks, it brings your animation, let alone the context of what you're saying, your presentation, to life. There's a saying in editing, right? They say show, not tell. So as long as you demonstrate it, show it on video, animate it without saying it, you save audience retention, time, and the viewer's conscious, essentially, right? You don't want to be redundant. So I made it pop out once I did the outline. So we did the same thing for the number 2. We added a text where it was going to slide under, and also a paragraph right below that. So we also added a balance to the canvas, which was in different font. We added a little glow to premium ads and quality customers. And what this is going to do is just balance out the canvas once again. You just don't want to have one side of the canvas or like your video super dominant with animations while the other side isn't. As you could see, as the sequence of animations occurring, we actually adjust the opacity of the next scene, right? So when the background becomes the main background, we have the number 1 and 2 quality customers, premium ads, that whole text of that scene. The opacity goes from 0 to 100 once the background merges. because it's an empty background, and then everything subtly increases its opacity to show the next scene. And the perfect example is right here. We have it just showing. And I wanted to make like an eclipse behind the text. So that's what we're essentially doing. And a rule of thumb, if you're going to do it on one side of the canvas or your video, you better make sure it's symmetrical to the other side of the video. So if we're going to do the little bubble, the eclipse behind the text 1, we're also going to do it behind the text 2. And they're both going to be animated and meeting in the middle. And the video is essentially done. If you guys learn a thing or two, I would highly advise you guys to do these types of edits once you guys start an agency. Because I feel like once you do an agency, you're not doing 3D animations like that. Only for YouTubers. Local restaurants, businesses are all just going to do cuts, text animations, and subtle animations like this, which go a very long way because it makes it high quality. So with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you guys did, drop a like. I'm also doing an AI agent that could help you edit, scale your business, do outreach, marketing, weekly reports, automated. Everything's automated. And literally it's all done with Claude Code. So hopefully the next video is going to be exactly that. So teaching you guys how to actually either scale your agency or have a 24-hour assistant for you, whether it's for agencies to your social media presence, everything. Like, it's actually insane. So once again, subscribe if you haven't. I'm going to teach you guys the back end of how to actually scale in life, whether it's social media or just